Jake had been a delivery driver for years, but nothing prepared him for the last stop of the night. The rain poured down, and the streetlights flickered ominously as he parked outside an old dilapidated house at the end of a deserted lane. The address was odd, and he had never heard of the resident before. As he grabbed the package from the back of the van, he glanced at the house. Its windows were dark, except for one flickering light on the second floor. The air felt heavy, charged with an unsettling energy. He stepped onto the porch, water pooling around his feet, and knocked. The sound echoed in the stillness, but no one answered. Jake glanced at his phone. The delivery app still showed the address as active. With a sigh, he knocked again, harder this time. Finally, the door creaked open, revealing a woman cloaked in shadows. Her hair fell in tangled waves around her face, and her eyes gleamed like those of a wild animal. "You have a delivery?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, he checked the package again. Lydia Mason?" She stepped aside, gesturing for him to enter. Hesitant, Jake walked into the dimly lit foyer. The air inside was musty, carrying the scent of mildew and something else, something metallic. "Just put it on the table," she said, pointing to a small, rickety table at the far end of the room. Jake noticed strange objects scattered around the house, twisted dolls, jars filled with murky liquid, and what looked like bones, half buried in a dusty corner. Is everything okay?" Jake asked, unease creeping into his voice. The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Everything is perfect, just like you're going to be." His heart raced. "Right, I should go." Before he could turn, the door slammed shut behind him. He spun around, panic rising in his chest. "Let me out." "Don't be afraid," she said, her tone suddenly sweet. "You're exactly what I need. Look, I really need to." "Stay," she hissed, her voice twisting into something dark and primal. Shadows stretched along the walls, elongating toward him like fingers reaching for prey. Jake bolted for the door, but it wouldn't budge. The woman moved closer, her eyes glowing with a feral hunger. "You can't leave. You have a purpose here." He grabbed a nearby lamp and swung it at her, but she dodged effortlessly, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "You're not the first delivery, and you won't be the last. I need fresh souls." "Souls?" He could barely breathe, fear wrapping around him like a vice. "Mine was taken from me," she said, her voice softening for a moment, "but I can take yours in return. Just think of it. Immortality, power, freedom." Jake's mind raced. He couldn't let her take him. "You're insane," he yelled, desperation clawing at him. "Insanity is merely a point of view," she replied, lunging forward. He managed to sidestep her grasp, feeling the rush of air as she missed. He dashed toward a window, but it was locked tight. With nowhere to go, he turned to face her again. "What do you want from me?" "To join me," she said, advancing slowly, her form shifting in the shadows. "I'll make you one of my own." Just as she reached for him, the lights flickered and went out, plunging the room into darkness. Jake could hear her breath, a low growl echoing in the blackness. He took a deep breath and hurled the package at her, using the moment of surprise to dive toward the front door. With a burst of adrenaline, he pushed against it, and this time, it swung open. Rain pelted his face as he stumbled out into the night, sprinting for his van. Behind him, the woman's voice echoed, filled with rage and desperation. "Come back. You can't escape me." He fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking, but managed to start the engine. As he sped away, he glanced in the rearview mirror, heart pounding. The house loomed behind him, the flickering light still shining, and for a moment he thought he saw her standing in the doorway, arms outstretched. He never returned to that street again, but in the quiet hours of the night, he would sometimes hear whispers in the rain, calling him back to that cursed place.